This deep conditioning decides how we act. So, no matter how much your intellect understands what Vedanta is talking about, how you feel every day is based on all these assumptions and orientations. So, unless you take care of them, it always feels as though Vedanta doesn't work. Something else has to be done for Vedanta. In fact, what has to be done is cleaning up yourself so that Vedanta can stay. So, this is what we saw. Now, how do we even recognize? We can have so many different distortions. How do we even recognize what are the different distortions in our thinking, which then we can correct? So, the Bhagavad Gita gives us 20 values, which are mostly talking about the certain patterns of thinking that we have, which are not healthy and which needs to be undone. And these patterns are little intangible. What it means is that nobody else can know it. I mean, perhaps they can infer from your behavior, but only you have to be aware that this is where I'm coming from, and you have to correct it, right? So this is something that we have to do. So let's look at the first value, and the first value is amanitvam. I will write it. And the word mani refers to demand for respect. And tvam gives an abstract sense, a status of being somebody who demands respect, and a is a negation. So what is the value? The value is that you don't demand respect from others. So, suppose I ask you, what is wrong in demanding respect from others? Why is it a value? Why is it important not to demand respect from others?
Freedom of others is...
Sorry?
You don't respect their freedom.
Good. You don't respect their freedom because you expect them to behave in a certain way, and they may not always behave in a way that you want them to behave. So you're right, you're impinging on their freedom, so there is a little bit of a problem there. But what else are the problems? Why is demanding respect something not desirable?
You're in for being hurt because you won't get it.
Absolutely. Right? So there are multiple problems. Anybody else? Good. You can be hurt because people don't always behave as you want them to behave, and they don't give you the respect in a way that you perhaps may expect them to give you respect. So you're always kind of a little hurt. Absolutely. Right.
You're dependent.
You're dependent. Your well-being is dependent upon how others treat you. Do you understand? So many problems with this behavior. These are all subtle things, right? What is the first thing? You impinge on their freedom to behave the way they want. Impinge. The second thing is you're likely to be hurt because not everybody behaves and gives you the respect in a way that you want. The third is, Radhika is saying, is you have a dependency. So your well-being, your sense of well-being depends upon how others treat you and how others behave. So that means you're always waiting for some kind of a feedback from outside for you to feel good. And the feedback from outside is always very unpredictable. So that means, what it means is that your well-being also is so shaky because it constantly depends upon what others do to you and how others treat you, right? So this is what we call dependency.
One, you...
Impinge on others' freedom.
Oh. You don't respect yourself. if you demand
Excellent. Very, very good. Right? The very fact that you constantly need validation from others, what it actually implies is that you have a low self esteem about yourself because there is always this feedback that is required. So, actually, what it shows is you may pretend that you are somebody important and you may demand respect from others, but in your own self esteem, what you think about yourself is if you constantly need that feedback from others, what it means is in reality you have low self esteem. So many things. These are all subtle things, right? Nobody talks about it, we all just, unless this is the Gita, it's subtle. Right? All this we need to think about ourselves and we need to see how much we have this problem. So this is something which is, and we have to gently correct it, because if we don't correct it, right, these kind of attitudes, then hurt will not go, dependency will not go, low self-esteem will not go. Then we say, oh, why Vedanta is not working? Well, it's not working because these things are not taken care of.
You say you have to correct this. You cannot say you have to embrace this.
If you embrace this, suppose you embrace dependency. What is the meaning of that? See, we have learned some words which sound good, but we need to sit and little bit think about what is the outcome if I embrace my low self-esteem.
Nothing will change.
You're not going to change. What is the outcome if I embrace my dependency? You're going to remain dependent. Do you understand? So what it means is, please understand that the human mind, now this one thing that we need to understand, right? And this is extremely important because we don't want to use spiritual jargons to kind of feel good. This is not a feel good spiritual jargon class. This is a thinking class, right? So that means what, first of all, what we need to recognize is that according to neurosciences, the mind is something which is malleable. And what is malleable? You can change it. That is the greatest power you have been given. So there is this whole, we have neurons in the brain and we have pathways, and depending upon how we have been thinking, there have been some pathways which have been formed, right, by constant reinforcement. So what happens is, if you have created a pattern of dependency, it has created a pathway. So external events occur, and your mind will automatically go to that dependencies kind of, I'm constantly dependent on the other. Now, what happens is that the greatest gift that human being is given is the person is able to change these neuron pathways. That means you're not stuck with everything that you have. That is amazing power that is given to you. So what it means is that the awareness is something which is very much required for you to say that, hey, I'm caught in a pattern of low self-esteem. I'm caught in a pattern where I'm constantly demanding respect from others. And this is something which is causing a problem for me. It's not like Lord Krishna is telling you, correct it. It is not allowing me to live with freedom. It is causing hurt. It is causing dependency. It is the low self-esteem means my own esteem of myself is very low. This doesn't allow me to live with freedom. And as it doesn't allow me to live with freedom, I can do something to change this pattern. This is the power that is given to me. But it is up to me whether I use these powers or not. If we just had to just embrace everything about our mind, Lord Krishna would not be talking about values. Values means if you have these tendencies and if they are posing a problem for you, you can correct it.
And emptiness. Emptiness.
Yeah, emptiness is something that, what do you mean by that? What do you?
Well, all those things, but try to be empty. Emptiness.
Yeah. See, emptiness is not, for Vedanta, is not the goal of life. If you have wrong thinking, you need to correct your thinking, right? Because emptiness means how long are you going to be without thoughts? Mind is programmed to be with thoughts, right? And then what happens? Your own thoughts become your enemy because you want to be empty. Imagine the amount of pressure you create for yourself. So, you want to, mind is the greatest gift. Why is mind the greatest gift? Why is human birth considered to be such an important birth? Because we have thinking capacity. And thinking capacity to the extent that you can solve very complex problems of the world, and you can also solve complex problems about yourself. So you need to learn to think well. You can't just abandon your thinking. Right? So this is something that wrong thinking is a problem, but the solution is right thinking, not stopping to think.
There's a wonderful, right, on stopping to think.
But in meditation, you try to not.
Yeah, it's good, but meditation you can't do 24/7, right? You can do for half an hour. Because see, and meditation is useful. Nobody is saying meditation is not useful. But it is to, in fact, according to the 6th chapter of the Gita, the purpose of meditation is your mind is wild. So it goes from here to here to here to here. And what is the purpose of meditation? To actually make it more focused so it can do the job that it has to do. It's not about just completely releasing yourself from thinking. Now imagine, just think about it, right? I'm not here to lecture you on what you should do and what you should not do. I'm a teacher. So everything you decide for yourself, right? I'm not giving you prescriptions. I'm making you think about things. And you be open and think about things, because only through thinking about things that you evolve as a human being. So, one thing. Imagine a world where everybody stopped thinking. There were no thoughts. Everybody was completely empty. What would it be like?
Like death,
I guess.
Nobody
Yes.
will go to work. Nobody will talk to anybody. Nobody will. What is then this life on earth is about? Emptiness, no thoughts, and then what?
Well, that's a misunderstanding.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's very important.
Please understand, I'm not here to really impose my ideas. That is not my job to impose my ideas or impose anybody's ideas. I want you all to be a discerning human being. We have phrases which sound attractive, and we have not thought deeply about it. And as we have caught these ideas, we just repeat, and we don't understand what we repeat. And then we try to follow those things that we haven't understood, and we feel frustrated or we become pseudo. And it's high time we free ourselves from all of this and just really become a viveki, a discerning human being. This is what life, this is the biggest gift you can give to yourself. Become not somebody who lives from phrases, lives from understanding of things, So this is why this emptiness is something that for a while is good to kind of, because there is too many thoughts, and for a while it's good that you quiet your mind. It's wonderful. But whole life cannot be about having no thoughts.
Isn't there sometimes some confusion around what we mean by emptiness? Because actually just being in the moment without being in our mind can be very powerful, and we can actually be more conscious in some respects, just being there rather than being in our heads.
See,
So I think there's some language.
Yeah, there is some
issues here
language.
where we need better distinctions
Yeah,
of
absolutely.
what we're talking about.
What we are talking about, right? Because emptiness for me sounds, emptiness means what? I don't understand that. And even living in the present, it's absolutely true, right? We have too many biases. But what is also very important, see, I want you to be little more refined. I'm not actually totally disagreeing, but little bit think about things, right? So that ideas become little profound, right? They don't remain superficial. That's my job, right? As a teacher, to point it out. After that, you live, right? Your life is your life, and you live it the way you want, right? Now, even living in the present, just think about it, right? I mean, it's a lovely idea, and what it means is we have too many biases. So this is one of the biases that we have, and we have to free ourselves from these biases, which then will lead to what you call emptiness. But unless you free yourself from this bias, it will remain. Do you understand?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So we are not trying to become empty. What we are trying to do is free ourselves from these biases, so that our mind is fresh, our mind is open. It is not closed with a lot of things. Yeah, that's what we are trying to achieve. Now, imagine living in present, right? If you completely give up all your ideas, this fact that I'm speaking now, I'm using my memory. When did I learn my language?
As a child.
When I was a child. And that childhood, whatever vocabulary I learned, whatever language I learned, it's stored in my memory. And that memory is something which is with me, and I need to retract that memory to be able to do what I have to do. So, what it means is something very, very important. My present is intimately connected to my past. Do you understand? Because it is intimately connected to my past. I have learned my language in the past. I went to the course in 1995, and I need to retrieve it from my memory to be able to talk to you. So, even though this advice seems very good, that don't live in the past, but actually past and present are so intimately connected, where are you going to draw the line? So this is why living in the present essentially also means that what skills that you have learned in the past, the abilities that you have learned in the past, the attributes that you have learned in the past, you have to continue to use them. You cannot completely disconnect from the past. It's an impossibility. It's an impossibility, and it's not even desirable. Why? Because there are people, right, nowadays, this is a new problem that which has emerged. Perhaps it was there earlier, dementia and Alzheimer. They are the people who are always living in the present because they have lost their connection with, they don't recognize their relatives, they don't recognize even their wives, they don't recognize their children. Complete disconnection with the past and only living in the present. Is it desirable? Does anybody want that?
Mostly the very unhappy people. I have some
Mostly
friends. Yeah.
very unhappy people. So when we say live in the present. Let us be alive to what we mean by that. Because otherwise it sounds good, but sounding good is not enough. Right? Sounding good is not enough. You need to be, little bit asking these kind of a question. So what we want to do is, it's better to replace it. We want to have a fresh mind, not an empty mind, a fresh mind, free from biases, free from prejudices, free from deep orientations which are limiting, which allow us to be fully present in this moment, assess what needs to be done, and do what needs to be done. This is actually what we are looking for. And how do we get that mind? By looking into how my mind operates, and if there are any distortions, consciously try to undo those distortions so that I can free myself from it. Right? Does that sound reasonable or not?
So you could say that you are empty even when you're being full, because you're not contaminated by your
You're
thoughts.
not contaminated by prejudices. You're not contaminated by biases. You're not contaminated by, because those are the ones which are limiting you, right? So those things have to go before Vedanta, sits with you properly. If they are there, then, it's like Swamiji, there are examples given in Upanishad. Suppose there is sun which is all bright, and there is a vessel which has muddy water. Then the reflection, sun has no problem, but the reflection of that sun in the muddy water is going to be not very good, right? So if you already have all these biases, then you keep hearing, I am the whole, I am one with Ishvara. But it's not going to really reflect in your either mind or in your behaviors, because there is too much muddiness which first needs to be cleaned up.
An open mind.
An open mind, but exactly. I would replace a word, an empty mind, to an open mind. Open mind which is not filled with self-limiting ideas.
Everything is available.
Everything is available, all the possibilities are there, and the mind is an instrument which is incredibly powerful. So free it from all these distortions and it'll work wonders. Right? So this is why. Now, so these are, in fact, the problem with this, what we call manitvam. That actually manitvam, which is demanding respect from others, leads to suffering and leads to no inner leisure with the mind. Now, the next question is, how do I, this doesn't serve me, so how do I correct it? What do I do to free myself from manitvam, that constant need to demand respect from others? So one thing that, and I'm happy because I try very hard to be this person. So I was talking to some of these girls, and they said, it's nice to have a teacher who's accessible, who doesn't pretend like you're a teacher and you're, And this is exactly, not demanding respect, because, outside the classroom, I'm just like one of you. Why should I pose myself as superior to you? I don't feel like I'm superior to you. I just have some knowledge that I'm sharing with you. So where is this whole need of, pretending that I'm some big guru and I've studied Shastra and I'm a big, there's no need, right? But when does that come? It is a cultivated behavior where, all of us, because all of us feel small, please understand, we want respect because through respect from others, we validate ourselves. Right? It's not like we are bad people, but it's just a way that we have learned to validate ourselves. By, when you hear praise from somebody, when somebody admires you, you feel good. Why? Because when somebody says you are good, for that time you give up your smallness and you feel happy. So what is very important is, if I really don't want to depend upon others for my well-being, I have to work on my low self-esteem. Because if I have a good self-esteem, it is no problem, right? So, and then, what happens as a teacher, what happens is, suppose I come with a low self-esteem, I'll become a people pleaser. I'll become a people pleaser because I only want validation from you. So whatever you say, I'll say yes, yes, yes. Oh, it's wonderful. Why? Because everybody loves to be agreed with. And all of you will start loving me. And then I get my self-esteem. Nobody learns anything. You feel good, the whole exercise becomes feeling good exercise. So I'm not here to make you feel good. I'm not here to make myself feel good. I'm here to make you see certain things. And then if people say something opposed to that, I'll listen to it. But if I have another opinion, I will say it, because that's what I'm here for. Otherwise, how will you evolve? If I just go on agreeing with everything that you say, what will you learn? Nothing. You'll only feel good. The teacher's job is to lift you all up. That is the job. But they have to do it gently.
Yeah, and also respect our independence. We have the capacity to
Absolutely.
learn.
The capacity, absolutely. And I have to make you self-confident. If I don't agree with your idea, doesn't mean that I don't like you. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Don't take it personally. It's got nothing to do with personal anything. So all this, you have, even the recipient has to learn not to feel hurt. It's because only if you have low self-esteem, and if I disagree with you, then you feel hurt. Oh my God, the teacher is saying something, I feel humiliated in front of the whole class. There is no question of humiliating. We are looking at ideas, and we can't agree with ideas which are not totally clear. That's all, right? So this is why the first thing I want. Look at this. I need respect from others, and I constantly want validation from others. What is an antidote for that? Working on my self-esteem. Do you understand? That the more I become confident of myself, the more I'm sure of myself, the more I understand. Now, the next question is, how do I get a healthy self-esteem? What will I tell myself which will give me, I'm not like this person who gets shaken by every feedback that I get from people.
I am good as I am.
Sorry?
I am good as I am.
Yeah. So that means it's good. Vedanta has a larger perspective, and it says, you are one of the manifestations of divinity. Manifestations of divinity. Who will have low self-esteem? If you are manifestation of divinity, then what happens is who is superior, who is inferior. There is an example given in Chandogya Upanishad and the Mundaka Upanishad, sorry. And the example is, there is one fire and then there are many sparks. So many sparks, are they completely independent of fire? Are they completely independent of fire? No, they are not independent of fire. They are all just manifestations of one fire. So what it means is we are all manifestation, and in this whole creation, the manifestation is not random, it is in order. So what it means is that you have your unique place in the grand scheme of things. And the world will not be complete without you. This is the truth. Your presence is needed for the world to be what it is. And what you do matters. Why does it matter? As I told you, every small need of ours is fulfilled with participation of others, whether you recognize or not, whether you are ever aware of or not. All the actions that you have done so far have left permanent ripple effects. Some positive, some perhaps depending upon how aware or how wise you were when you performed those actions. Simple example, how you behave, right? You have, some of you may have children, how you behave with your child, that child is going to influence how the child is going to grow up. And that child, as the child grows up, will interact with others. And it will impact those others with whom the child interacts. And how long will this effect go on? Forever. You've left an imprint on this universe by your actions. You're not here to just hang around and kill time. Through your actions, you have actually contributed to the universe, and in your own way, you have shaped the universe in a given way. This is the power that is given to you. Please don't not recognize this power and live like a beggar, low self-esteem. I'm so bad and I'm so useless and I'm a failure and let me embrace it all. No. So, what your self-esteem essentially comes from your recognition that you are not just an insignificant human being, you are one of the manifestations of divinity, and you are given powers. And the powers, the way you collapse those powers, is going to leave its imprint on the universe for many, many, many more years than you can ever imagine. And that's where comes your responsibility to make sure that your actions don't come from your own kind of distortions, they don't come from your own disappointments. It comes from sense of responsibility and seeing a larger picture and own up your place in the universe. And really do with full heart. There is a beautiful verse in Bhagavad Gita, and I love that verse. What it says is, Swakarmana tamapyarcha siddhim vindati manava. What does it mean? This whole universe is a platform that is given to you for you to express yourself. What an amazing universe with all its possibilities. And through your actions, what do? You offer your actions to this vast universe as a prayer that I have received so much from this universe, I'm giving back my part, I'm doing my part. And if you change your attitude, then what happens is there is no room for low self-esteem. Where will low self-esteem come from? If your actions becoming an offer becomes an offering to this vast order in the universe, which is itself the divinity, manifestation of divinity. You understand? Shift. It's it's easy. What does it mean? You have neuron pathways which are going in this little way. You give them a new vision. As you get new vision, what will happen? The pathways will change and your thinking patterns will change. And as your thinking patterns will change, you will become a totally new human being. So, practically, how can I do that? So, just two examples I want to give you of how whatever you do it with a certain feeling of happiness and also see it as your contribution to the universe. So there is one traditional story and one is a modern story. So I try to mix both, right? So one traditional story is that there was a traveler who was traveling and he saw 7 people cutting the stone, right? And they were all just out in the open in the sun and they were all cutting the stone. So the traveler asked the first person, "What are you doing?" And the first person says, "Oh my God, I'm uneducated and I have no other job, so I have to do this stupid job of cutting this stone day in and day out in this heat, and I'm so frustrated. And but I don't have any other options, so I'm stuck in life." The traveler asked a second person who is also doing exactly the same thing, cutting the stones. And the second person says, "Actually, I am trying to, my supervisor has given me a job of cutting the stone, right, with certain dimensions, and I'm trying my best to follow those dimensions and make sure that there are no errors." The third person, he asks, "What are you doing?" The third person says, "You know what, there is going to be a wall which is going to be built with these stones, and I want to make sure that the wall is strong and each piece is really well placed, and not only it has a functional value, but it also has aesthetic value." Everybody is doing the same thing, cutting stones. Fourth, "What are you doing?" "I am building a temple." He has a much larger vision of what he is doing. This stone cutting is not just mindless activity. It is going to contribute towards building a temple. And this last person, he asks, "What are you doing?" And he says, I am building a place where for many, many years to come, it's a place where people can connect to the Lord.
People
Can connect to the divinity. The action is identical. The meaning, no meaning. Where does it exist? In your mind. Either you can make your life irrelevant, you can give names to the universe, this is bad and this is like this, and detach yourself from it and yourself become a useless human being, not doing anything, which itself will give frustration. Or every small, simple act You can convert into something which is magical, by understanding the larger picture, and your little contribution, a small act, but done with proper understanding, done with proper attitude, it becomes your offering. It becomes your offering to this universe, and you are sure it will leave its imprint way after your life. So there is a beautiful, somebody sent me a small little writing saying that the person who plants the seed, knowing that in one's own lifetime the person may never be able to eat the fruits and still does it, is a wise person. Why? Because any act which is done with a proper understanding, recognizing your place in the grand scheme of things, with sense of responsibility, will go a long way. Not only it will go a long way in creating harmony in the universe, but the universe is organized in a way that you get constant feedback about, what you give out is what you get. Your life is actually a feedback that Lord Krishna or Lord Ishvara is giving you about how well you are living. There is a constant feedback. So therefore, this is just a shift. It's not doing anything. It's not like the stone maker has to do something, become a prime minister to make a difference. The stone maker can remain stone maker and increase one's understanding by multiple scale. And that's what gives that person the satisfaction. If the stone maker thinks that only by becoming a prime minister I will get my satisfaction, that the stone maker will have to wait for perhaps 3 janmas. It's here and now. It's just a shift in your understanding. So, this is the first example. The second example is a little modern example. It was given by, there is a wonderful book by, I think he's a Russian, but he grew up in the US. I'm not sure. He's connected to, I think, some university in the US. But he has written, some of you may have read that book. The name of the book is Flow. Have you read the book Flow? It's a bestseller, international bestseller. It's a good book. I mean, it's a little technical, but I'm just going to give you an example. And the example, the book begins, what is a flow? When you do something that you are good at and you're totally absorbed and you give your best, there is a place, there is a time that the mind goes into flow. And what is this flow? Where you have maximum pleasure, you are operating at a very high efficiency, and also you are doing what you are doing extremely well. So it is beneficial all the way. You get pleasure, you are very efficient, and whatever you are doing is so well done that it gets everybody else benefits when a job is well done. Now, the author himself asks a question that flow and all is very good. Suppose you are doing something meaningful, then you can apply your mind and you can do it well and you can get some pleasure out of be excelling in whatever you are doing. But what about somebody who is working on an assembly line, a bottling company, and his job from morning to night is to just put a cap into the bottle? What kind of flow will that person have? You understand? It's true. It's a good question. Right? Because it's so monotonous. It's so boring. How can you enter so-called high efficiency and then you are happy and you are doing it well. How is it possible? And he gives an example of a person in the book, and this is not my saying, it is in the book, right? And he says that most of the assembly line workers, they are so bored, and because they are so bored, what do they do after 5 o'clock? They go to the bar. Exactly. They go to the bar, they are so bored that they want to free themselves from this boredom, and they get drunk. When they get drunk and they go home, then what the wife is saying, that you are coming so late and you're coming home drunk and the kids are waiting for you and you don't care, then there is a huge fight at home. And then the kids get impacted because they see dysfunctional family. Now it seems that how will you ever come out of that? So then he gives an example of one assembly line worker, and this is a true story. And he said this particular worker started challenging himself. Instead of saying, my job is so monotonous, he started challenging himself by saying that, in 1 hour, you put this many caps into the bottle. How can I increase the number of bottles that I do in 1 hour? It's one's own challenge to oneself. What happens? His mind becomes more alert, more efficient. He wants to do it well. The whole focus is different now. From what a boring job that I am stuck with to how can I do it well. Then when he actually, suppose you can do 100, the maximum you can increase your efficiency is to 115, right? You can't go more. After a point, there is a saturation. So you can't go more. So then, after he reached that point, then he gave himself another challenge. And what is the other challenge? That, every bottle that you cap, there are always some errors. So 3 of them are badly done. So they have to go, they are in a waste, they are rejected. So then he started giving himself another task and another goal. How can I reduce the error? And then his mind became more and more alert. How not only I do it fast, but I also do it with attention, right? With focus and not just, mechanically. And then what happened is that he reduced the error. And then what happened is he was no longer unhappy person, because his mind was engaged, it was focused. He started getting pleasure out of it. He started becoming happier. And as he was happy and he was not complaining and dissatisfied and whatever, then he had enough in a leisure that if somebody else, some other worker was stuck, he would go and help. He would go and help, and everybody started liking him. He was cheerful, he was efficient. The supervisor saw that he's standing out. And the supervisor sent him to some training, and then over a period of time, he took off. So your life journey is not about external, otherwise you can be, whole life in a self-pity and angry with administration that, we are exploited, we do so much work, and they just take the money, and be just angry. You can turn your life around. That power is within you, and nobody can take away that power from you. Only you can deny yourself that power by not believing in yourself. So this is something, what it will do is, not only will make you a dissatisfied human being, a satisfied, focused, engaged human being, But that a deep engagement gives a lot of pleasure. Flow. So, even I tell you, the teaching gives incredible pleasure. What am I doing? Am I making a lot of money? Nothing. But why does it attract me? I have options, I can do other things. It gives me immense pleasure to deeply engage. Immense. Nothing can compare with it. So this is why, and in fact, anything that you do, you can become that person. Okay? So this is how, what we say, we turn things around. We turn things around, and that our self-esteem has to do with not anything else, what others think about us, what others, the feedback that others give us. It is to do with what is your self-worth according to you. And self-worth is going to come from two essential things. One is recognizing that you are manifestation of divinity. You are no less, you are basically not less than anybody. And using your potentials to the best of your ability, because the world is made in a way that each one has to participate. And each one's participation impacts so many others for generations. Right? Just simple thing. Otto approaching me, right? Organizing. He didn't have to do it. He could have just come here and hung out on his own, right? He didn't have to do this. Then you come, and then you will go and interact with how many people, right? How many people it is going to benefit? Small initiative of yours can go a long way in changing lives of others. These are amazing contributions. They are not ordinary. And you get pleasure from that. And what is the bonus? You get pleasure from that. You get happiness from that. Right? So this is how you work on low self-esteem. As you work on your self-esteem, you become more confident. Naturally, the dependency on what others think, matters less and less. It's time? Okay. So, good. Thank you for reminding me. Otherwise, I would have gone on and on and on. Thank you. Yashoda.
It's my job.
Okay. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you.
Thank you.
So the next class is at 11:30.
Yes.